You know, the fall is always a busy time around my house. There's shorter days. My wife's a school teacher, so she's back to work. Finding time to cook can be tough. That's why I love Factor. Their chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals make it easy to stay on track and enjoy something comforting and delicious, no matter how hectic the season gets. With Factor, you can choose from a wider selection of weekly meal options, including premium seafood choices like salmon and shrimp, at no extra cost. They have GLP-1 friendly meals and new Mediterranean diet options packed with protein and good-for-you fats. From more choices to better nutrition. That's why 97% of customers say that Factor helped them live a healthier life. Feel the difference no matter your routine. My wife and I have been using Factor for 3 or 4 years now, and every meal we've ever tried has been amazing. And they make it so quick and easy that you're eating in no time. Eat smart at factormeals.com/TCAT50off and use code TCAT50off to get 50% off your first box, plus free breakfast for 1 year. That's code TCAT50off at factormeals.com for 50% off your first box, plus free breakfast for 1 year. Get delicious, ready-to-eat meals delivered with Factor. Offer only valid for new Factor customers with code and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchase.
Shopify helps you sell at every stage of your business. Like that, let's put it online and see what happens stage.
And the site is live.
That we opened a store and need a fast checkout stage.
Thanks. You're all set.
That count it up and ship it around the globe stage.
This one's going to Thailand.
And that, wait, did we just hit 1 million orders stage? Whatever your stage, businesses that grow with Shopify. Sign up for your $1 a month trial at shopify.com/listen.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 464 of the True Crime All the Time podcast. I'm Mike Ferguson, and with me, as always, is my partner in true crime, Mike Gibson. Gibby, how are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. And you?
I'm doing great.
You look good.
I look good. I'm having a good week. I appreciate the compliment, though.
Yeah.
I don't get a lot of those.
No, you don't.
Well, because there's not a lot of people here to give me compliments.
That's true. And again, I'm just reading off the cue card you had here.
This is what Gibby is supposed to say.
Yeah.
Let's go ahead and give our Patreon shout outs. We had Estilla Gilbert.
Hey, Gilbert. You know, that's part of the Gibson clan.
Is it?
Yeah, it's actually Gibbert.
Oh, okay.
You said it wrong, but I didn't want to correct you, but
I got you.
Gibbert. Hey, Gibbert.
All right. I don't know where you're getting that from, but
out of my you-know-what.
Tracy Fickner jumped out at our highest level.
Oh, thanks, Fickner.
Jen Thurmer.
Hey, Thurmer.
Davina Bruce.
Ah, thanks, Davina.
Dale Witten.
What's going on, Dale?
Batgirl 138.
Ah, where's Robin at?
A.
Well, A to you, too.
Just A.
Yeah.
Brock Hall jumped out at our highest level.
Oh, thanks, Brock.
Estefania.
Hey, Estefana.
Kristen Murphy.
What's going on?
And last but not least, Marcia Iannacone.
Iannacone.
Or Iannacone. It could be either one. I don't know.
Canacone.
It could not be can of corn. Is that what you just said?
No, canacopia. What?
And if we go back into the vault, this week we selected Nicholas Isby.
Well, thank you, SB.
Yeah, appreciate all the support that we get.
We do.
So, Gibbs, we have an episode out right now on True Crime All the Time Unsolved, where we're talking about 18-year-old Andre Jones from Jackson, Mississippi. He was arrested at a sobriety checkpoint just days before he was supposed to start his freshman year of college. And then not long after his arrest, he was found hanging in a prison shower. This is one of those cases where, the authorities kind of have their official theory, but the family doesn't buy it. They don't believe it at all. They believe, this was a lynching disguised as a suicide.
That's true. That's what they believe.
So make sure you check that out. All right. Are you ready to get into this episode of True Crime All the Time?
I am.
We're on to the second and final part on Brittanee Drexel. In part one, We covered Brittanee's trip to Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, who she spent her final days with, and the early suspects in the investigation. And, there's no doubt she, kind of tried to pull the wool over her mom's eyes, right? She really wanted to go on this trip. And so she came up with a story that she was staying at a friend's lake house, but in reality, she was in Myrtle Beach.
And we've all been there before.
Yeah, a lot of us have. I would say most of us have done something. Maybe, like I said, maybe not to this level.
Yeah.
But something along these lines.
If you've been a parent long enough, you probably had something like this similar pulled on you.
That you may not learn about until your kids are full grown adults.
And they feel comfortable now telling you?
Yes. My oldest daughter has made some revelations that are shocking to my wife and I.
You're like, who are you?
Yes, exactly. So in part 2, we're going to talk about how police used advances in technology to make an arrest, and also how the case has unfolded in recent years, because there's a lot going on. On May 4th, 2022, authorities arrested 62-year-old Raymond Moody on an obstruction charge. Authorities confirmed his arrest on May 10th. And we talked about Moody, quite a bit in episode 1. Documents listed Moody's offense date as the same day that Brittanee went missing. He was granted bond that day, but remained in detention. On May 11th, Brittanee's remains were found in a wooded area along Old Town Avenue in Harmony Township. The property is located near a subdivision that was in its early stages and mostly undeveloped at the time of Brittanee's disappearance. She was found about 2.5 miles from the motel where Raymond Moody was living at the time. Authorities announced the discovery of the remains on May 16th after they were identified through dental records. And I just want to go back and kind of talk about the roller coaster that, her family was on this entire time. And now all of a sudden, okay, you've got somebody arrested and then they find her remains. I mean, it's just a lot to process.
It is.
I can't imagine going through that. I hope I never have to.
Oh.
I wish nobody had to, but obviously it does happen. Raymond Moody was charged with murder, kidnapping, and first-degree criminal sexual conduct. Warrants stated that Moody allegedly caused Brittanee's death by manual strangulation and sexually battered Brittanee. According to the prosecutor, evidence showed Brittanee was raped and killed at the Santee River, and her body was taken to Old Town Avenue. And, that's the other thing, right? The family, you're dealing with the fact that it's confirmed your daughter is no longer alive.
Right.
Probably something that went through people's heads. I'm sure it has to as time goes by. But then you have to learn all of the sordid details.
All the horrific stuff.
And that's got to be just brutal.
Yeah.
And then, even worse when you get to court, because it's going to be very in-depth. There could be photographs. You're going to have people talking.
Explicit details?
Yes. And in graphic detail about what happened to your daughter.
I think it'd be so hard to sit there and just listen to that.
Well, I think a lot of family members get up at certain points if they're showing, very graphic photographs and things like that. And I don't blame them one bit. That would be extremely tough to take. On May 18th, authorities announced that Raymond Moody had confessed to the murder. Moody had an interview with investigators on May 5th and admitted what he did, and he was the one who actually led investigators to Brittanee's body. Prosecutor Jimmy Richardson said Moody was the only suspect and that his arrest for obstructing justice was a way to get him locked up. They knew he did it, but they wanted to be able to prove it. After the body was found, News 13 asked the FBI for a statement regarding the alligator pit allegations and whether Deshaun Taylor was still connected. And this is fascinating. We spent quite a bit of time in episode 1 talking about it. How many different people came forward and implicated this Deshaun Taylor?
Oh, several.
Said that there was an alligator pit involved, and that's where, Brittanee's body was disposed of. Well, obviously, once Moody confesses and leads them to her body, all of that pretty much is debunked.
Yeah, it gets kind of tossed out the window, doesn't it?
The FBI responded with the following. Throughout the investigation, law enforcement followed multiple leads to wherever they led us based on the information we had at the time. We have an obligation to follow leads to their conclusion. The person we believe is responsible for Brittanee's murder has been charged. So they're not coming out and saying, we now know Deshaun Taylor wasn't involved, but you can read between the lines.
Oh, yeah.
Later that month, the Georgetown County coroner said Brittanee's cause of death was undetermined. Manual strangulation couldn't be confirmed due to the condition of the remains. And unfortunately, that's something that, we see quite a bit. Depending on how long it takes to find somebody's remains, there is a good chance the longer it goes on, the less is going to be able to be determined. Right? If you just have skeletal remains, yeah, you can look for a fracture in the hyoid bone. You can look for nicks, let's say, from a knife on bone. But if you don't find any of those things, pretty hard to figure out. I mean, obviously, if you're not seeing a bullet hole in the skull.
Right.
Without those type of things, makes it pretty tough.
Pretty much just speculation.
Yeah, to be 100% certain, right, how a person died. On October 19, 2022, Raymond Moody pleaded guilty to murder, kidnapping, and first-degree criminal sexual conduct. He was given a life sentence for murder and 30 years each for the other charges. The obstruction charge was dropped at sentencing.
Well, they had him on everything else. So
yeah, I think obstruction at that point, we'll let that one go because we got you.
Exactly.
Moody said, as quoted by WBTW, I was a monster and I took Brittanee Drexel's life, and I don't have the words to express how horrible I feel and how I felt ever since that day. And I'm very sorry.
Well, you are a monster.
That part is undeniably true. He took Brittanee Drexel's life. That part is true. Is he really sorry? I mentioned on Patreon the fact that I'm watching this show, Signs of a Psychopath. And, they really go into great detail, analyzing people's words, things like that.
Yeah, it's hard for me to really believe people are sorry at this point. But I do think that occasionally, for whatever reason, people come around and realize what they did was extremely wrong. Mm-hmm. And they see it and they know. And I believe they are sorry.
Yeah, I'm sure it does happen. It's really hard to tell, though, is it for show because you want people to believe you're sorry, or are you just sorry that you got caught? So technically you really are sorry.
Yeah. But
you're not sorry for what you did. You're sorry for where you are and where you ended up.
Yeah.
In his statement, Chad Drexel described Brittanee as very strong-willed and strong-minded. She was the leader among her friends, and she liked to have the spotlight on her. The family suffered years of torture. After she went missing, Drexel called Moody a perverted, sick monster.
Spot on.
Yeah, it's kind of hard to argue with that description. Brittanee's mother, Dawn, said, "You are a disgrace to your parents, to your own children, to your family, and any friends you have left. You are a serial rapist and child predator. You should be ashamed of your actions, especially having 3 daughters of your own. The criminal justice system has failed my daughter as it continues to fail so many other victims. And frankly, Mr. Moody, it failed you because you never should have been released from prison. You should have served the full 40-year sentence, but you walked after only serving 20 years and returned to your wicked ways. And my daughter paid for that with her own life."
Wow. What she said was Spot on.
Well, this is that argument or debate that a lot of people have. You and I have it. When somebody gets a sentence and they're let out early, which happens all the time, just because you get 40 or 50 years doesn't mean you're not eligible for parole at 20 or 25.
Yeah.
And if you're good in prison and you do what you're supposed to do, okay, you could get let out. But when those people go on to do despicable acts, I think it's very easy to look back and say, well, they never should have been let out.
Yeah, that's true.
It's very easy.
Yes.
But there are people who are let out who lead productive lives and never do anything. So, how do you make the decision?
That's tough because that's a fair debate. It just makes me always wonder when these guys that do these terrible things to young women, when they have daughters around the same age.
Yeah, that is tough, right? Because you would think being dads of daughters ourselves, you treasure them. Their life is, I'd put my own life ahead of my daughter's. How could you go out and then take away somebody else's daughter?
Yeah.
And it's just hard to understand. But like we always say, right? If you could understand it, what does that say about you?
You're exactly right.
You can't you can try, you can discuss it, but you can't really be in the minds of these people, because if you thought that way, that would say something really bad about you. At the sentencing hearing, prosecutors laid out how investigators linked Moody to Brittanee's murder. And, we talked about this in part 1. Moody was initially cleared when nothing of evidentiary value was found inside his residence at the Sunset Lodge during the 2011 search. But he was high on their radar, right? Moody was, as a suspect. Folks, what if I told you most collagen products aren't just a waste of money? They're loaded with toxins that could lead to skin issues, heart problems, even cognitive decline. Scary, but it's true. See, collagen is the most abundant protein in your body, and your natural supply drops as you age. That's why so many people are turning to collagen to relieve joint pain, rebuild bones, and even look years younger. But here's the catch. You have to know what to look for, or you could end up doing more harm than good. Before you buy another tub from Amazon or your local store, go check out the top 5 collagen warnings every American needs to see, along with a special offer. It's a quick read that could save your health and your wallet. Right now, get a special bundle deal at a fraction of the retail price plus free shipping. This offer is only available at getnativepath.com/TCAT. That's GETNATIVEPATH.com/TCATT. The weather's getting colder. The holidays are coming up. This is the time when I need my wardrobe to just work. That's why I'm all about Quince. They make it easy to look sharp, feel good, and find gifts that last. From Mongolian cashmere sweaters to Italian wool coats, Quince pieces are crafted from premium materials and built to hold up without the luxury markup. You have to check out their outerwear lineup. It's no joke. Down jackets, wool top coats, and leather styles that are built to last. By cutting out middlemen and traditional markups, Quince delivers the same quality as luxury brands at a fraction of the price. It's everything you want to wear, built to hold up season after season. My wife and I have purchased quite a few things from Quince, and everything we've bought is of the utmost quality, and it looks way more expensive than it was. I'm wearing my Quince joggers in the studio right now. Get your wardrobe sorted and your gift list handled with Quince. Don't wait. Go to quince.com/TCAT for free shipping on your order and 365-day returns. Now available in Canada too. That's QUINCE.com/TCAT. Free shipping and 365-day returns. Quince.com/TCAT. It wasn't until the spring of 2022, with the help of improved cell phone tracking technology, that investigators built a case against Moody's longtime girlfriend, Angel Voss, and then got Moody to take responsibility. In 2019 and 2020, investigators took a fresh look at surveillance footage from Ocean Boulevard and data from Brittanee's phone. They tracked Brittanee's movements by matching surveillance footage with cell tower pings. Her phone was moving at walking speed, but then began moving at a speed of 55 miles per hour, indicating she had gotten into a vehicle. Investigators identified a 1-minute window of when she got into the car, and surveillance footage showed only one vehicle passing the location, where her cell last pinged at a walking speed.
It's amazing what technology can do.
Yeah. I mean, you think about not having this early on in the investigation or it not being able to be used this way.
Right.
And then, as in all the cases that we talk about, right, technology just continues to advance in leaps and bounds. But this one is really fascinating. Cell phone tower pings with her route and knowing, within a 60-second window, let's say, when she stopped the walking speed and the driving speed started. And then to go back and find that exact time and surveillance footage is just amazing.
I think it's just shows you how far we've come. I kind of feel like it's that, and I think I mentioned this in the past, that Tom Cruise movie where they moved.
Oh, yeah, because he's only made 700 movies. You mean that one?
That one. The
Minority Report?
Yes.
Okay. You're moving your hands, and somehow I get Minority Report from that. That was a good movie.
It was.
I liked it.
I think they remade it. I don't remember who, but they remade it.
You sure?
Yeah.
I don't think they did.
I think they did.
I don't believe so. I'm calling BS on that one. They've remade a lot of movies, but that I don't remember them remaking that one. If they did, I missed it.
Yeah.
Somebody will leave a voicemail or write in and say, Ferg, you're wrong. Gibby's right, as he always is. So police were able to trace this vehicle to Moody, who, like we said, right, was already a person of interest. In April 2022, Angel Voss agreed to help the FBI and wear a wire while talking to Moody. There was enough evidence to charge Voss with accessory, but they chose to focus on Moody. And that doesn't surprise me at all, right? Accessory, not to say that that's, nothing, but you want the actual murderer. And if you have to make a deal with someone on an accessory charge, well, then that's what you do, right? To get their cooperation, to get them to help you. Prosecutor Jimmy Richardson said at a news conference, per WBTW, a lot of times as law enforcement, you have to make a deal with the getaway driver to get the armed robber. I don't mean to minimize this. She's got more to do. She would have been an accessory, but we had to proffer Angel. Prosecutors didn't believe Angel was present for the murder, but she was in the car on the way from Myrtle Beach to Georgetown County. And if you're in the car, right, when Brittanee is picked up, you might not have committed the murder, but you had to have known something happened.
Yeah, you are going to be associated with it for sure.
Yeah. In his interview, Moody said Brittanee got into the car willingly, and they drove to a campsite in Georgetown County. Prosecutors weren't able to verify this, but took his word to secure a conviction. Moody claimed that once there, they engaged in a consensual sexual act. Moody wanted to elevate the sex act, and that's when the kidnapping started. Moody admitted to raping Brittanee. Once it was over, he realized that he would go back to jail, so he strangled her before taking her body to another site in the county to bury it in the woods. And this is what fascinates me, right? What does the perpetrator have to say? I mean, he's admitting to the murder. He's also admitting to rape.
Sure is.
But he's starting out the story by saying, I picked her up for a ride. We had consensual sex. And then I wanted to elevate things. So that's when the kidnapping occurred. If I'm a juror, I don't know if I'm buying that at all.
I'm saying BS all the way from the beginning.
On the consensual part
Absolutely.
of things. Richardson said at the press conference, I don't believe everything that Moody said, But after 13 years, you've got to take what he said, corroborate what you can. It was enough to get rape, murder, and kidnapping because we could corroborate a lot of his story. So I think he's kind of getting at what we were saying. Maybe they don't believe the consensual part of it, but it's not going to really matter when it comes down to the convictions.
Because they have enough to go ahead and move that direction.
But this is what, a lot of people like Moody do, right? They tell a story, some of which, in this case, a lot of which implicates him in very horrific crimes, but they also try to soften parts of it. It started out as me just giving her a ride. And then, we were fooling around. And then things got out of hand. When more likely than not, he only picked her up because he had this in his mind the entire time.
Yeah, it was his intention.
And there was no consensual sex whatsoever. He's just saying that to make him look less like a demon.
Oh, of course, yeah. I'm not a monster. It just, things went sideways and I made some mistakes.
Mistakes were made.
Yeah.
As they would say in Call of Duty, when you accidentally forget to throw the grenade and blow yourself up, it says mistakes were made.
I'd say that was definitely a mistake.
Later that month, prosecutors released Moody's confession interview. He described how he was driving down Ocean Boulevard, smoking marijuana when he encountered Brittanee, who commented that the marijuana smelled good. He offered her some, they chatted a little, and he was surprised when she got in the car. Her phone kept going off while they were in the car, but he never told her she couldn't answer it. They drove to a campground. As stated by Moody, I made her take her clothes off. She was cooperative, but it was against her will. I started strangling her. I was in a panic. I didn't know what to do.
How do you be cooperative about taking your clothes off, but against your will at the same time?
Well, the only thing that I can think of, because that didn't make sense to me either, was that he's ordering her to do this. There's probably some threat behind it, and she's cooperating because she doesn't want to be hurt or killed. Maybe that's what he was saying, but not cooperative in that she wanted to have some, sexual encounter with this nasty man.
Yeah, because remember he said at first it was consensual sex, and I'm thinking, what part of consensual is in that statement?
Doesn't sound consensual at all.
Not at all.
And that's part of the reason why I think that was BS. He said, I was scared and she was scared. When asked what caused things to go wrong, he said nothing. It was just my mind.
I'm sorry, but screw him to say, I was scared and she was scared. No, she was scared because what you were doing. What were you scared about?
Yeah, screw him.
Yeah.
I like that. I like that. Because, again, is this just part of, a sociopath, a psychopath, whatever this person may be? They tell these stories and they sprinkle in parts to make them look better, to kind of humanize them, when in fact they're monsters. I was scared. She was scared. You're the one doing all this.
Yeah.
Nobody would have been scared, right?
Exactly. It seems like he's just looking for sympathy. He's just a piece of shit at the end of the day.
But that's what a lot of these people do. He strangled Brittanee before she had a chance to escape, saying, I was all shook up because of what had happened. And the other thing is, it's all about him, right? I was scared. I was all shook up.
Yeah.
Me, as opposed to, how's this poor girl feeling as I'm doing these terrible things to her?
Such a narcissist.
He said he didn't plan to hurt her, but it, quote, just happened.
Well, it's going to happen when you put your hands around somebody's neck and keep squeezing.
He said he left her under a tree, but returned and took it to the location where it was found. Yeah, let's go back to that. It just happened. I mean, that's such a cop-out thing to say to me. It just happened. You hear people say that when they cheat. It just happened.
Yeah.
there's a lot of things involved in that happening.
Exactly.
If I fall down, okay, well, that just happened. I didn't plan it. There wasn't a lot involved in it. I tripped or whatever. But all these other things, you're talking about picking someone up and killing them or having an affair or things. Those things don't just happen.
There's thoughts involved.
Yeah.
There's planning in some cases.
There's thoughts, there's actions, there's probably all kinds of different points in time where you could make a different decision, but you choose not to. When Moody's girlfriend, Angel, returned to the campsite, he made up an excuse that Brittanee had called her friends and suggested they not camp there. He was unable to sleep and returned to the crime scene and buried the body in another location. Moody said about the exact location of the body, she's about 4 feet down. He said he got rid of his clothing and put Brittanee's in a donation box. He threw her phone into the river, but kept her high school ID for a while before getting rid of it too.
Well, that sounds like one of his trophies.
Yeah. So did it just happen? Because now you're keeping trophies. You're probably pulling out this ID. You're reliving what you have done.
Exactly.
This doesn't sound in any way like something that, quote, just happened. He thought his time in prison had changed him, but it didn't. Moody said, I wish I was different, but I wasn't. Okay, that might be a true statement. He might have wished he was different. In January 2023, Brittanee's mother, Dawn, filed a civil suit against Raymond Moody, seeking damages for the loss of her daughter. Moody filed a handwritten response, denying each and every question and statement listed in the requests for admission.
Because he's so sorry for what he did.
One question I had, Gibbs, is how much does this guy really have?
You know what?
He was in prison for 20 years.
Yeah. Well, whatever he has, take it all.
Yeah, I don't blame him at all, but I can't imagine this guy was swimming in money.
But sometimes I also think maybe it could be some form of therapy.
Yeah, I don't know that it's all about the money ever. I think some of it is just, how can I get back at this person in any and every way that is possible? And this is one that was possible. In November 2023, Brittanee's estate sued Moody and the Bar Harbor Resort, where Brittanee stayed with friends. Brittanee's family previously said she was staying at the hotel without her parents' permission. The resort denied the allegations in the lawsuit, saying Brittanee was never a registered guest and might have been friends with another guest at the resort. So that's an interesting case because obviously, she wasn't an adult. She could not rent a hotel room.
Right,
by herself. But if she's crashing with other people who had rented, one of which, let's say, had rented the room, how would the hotel even know about it?
Yeah, I think it'd be difficult, but I think if you're going to hire an attorney, the attorney's going to say, let's line them all up and see where it sticks.
Yeah, go after everybody. In March 2024, Timothy Deshaun Taylor filed a federal abuse of power suit, claiming false narratives pushed by the FBI caused irreversible emotional strain. Taylor's team reiterated that he was innocent and said that Taylor, who was 16, was in class at the time of the crime. Deshaun's mother, Joan, said, as quoted by WBTW, for over a decade, my son and his father were relentlessly pursued for a crime that federal law enforcement officials knew neither of them committed because they had evidence to the contrary. Their illegitimate investigation wreaked havoc on our lives, and we demand answers from those responsible. Our family deserves a public apology, and my son deserves for the public to know his name without any association to Brittanee Drexel. So, again, we did talk about Deshaun. I don't know if he was a squeaky clean guy, but at 16 years old, to be thought of as the murderer of Brittanee Drexel, Yeah, I would say that's going to do some irreparable harm to someone.
It's going to be tough to reverse some of that.
Hence the irreparable
Exactly.
part. Hey folks, if you haven't discovered Chime yet, you got to check it out. It's a smarter, fee-free way to bank that's actually built for you. It's not like the old school banks that charge you overdraft and monthly fees. Chime turns everyday spending into real rewards and progress, helping you build credit history stress-free. You can even earn up to 3.5% APY. On savings, that's 8 times higher than a traditional bank. It's rated 5 stars by USA Today for customer service. They have real humans 24/7. They also have the Chime Card. It's the new way to build credit history with your own money and get rewarded every single day. There's no annual fees, no interest, and no strings attached. I really would have benefited from Chime when I was younger. Chime is not just smarter banking. It's the most rewarding way to bank. Join the millions who are already banking fee-free today. It just takes a few minutes to sign up. Head to chime.com/crime. That is chime.com/crime.
Chime is a financial technology company, not a bank. Banking services, a secured Chime Visa credit card, and MyPay line of credit provided by the Bancorp Bank N.A. or Stride Bank N.A. MyPay eligibility requirements apply, and credit limit ranges $20 to $500. Optional services and products may have fees or charges. See chime.com/fees info. Advertised annual percentage yield with Chime Plus status only. Otherwise, 1.00% APY applies. No min balance required. Chime card on-time payment history may have a positive impact on your credit score. Results may vary. See chime.com for details and applicable terms.
True Crime All the Time is brought to you by BetterHelp. You know, the holidays are a time of traditions. Some people have a lot of them in their family, while some have none or are just beginning their own. Now's the time to reflect on what they mean to you or to rewrite those traditions and make your own. Incorporating therapy into your new or existing traditions can help ensure you take time for yourself during what can be a very joyful, but a lot of times hectic and lonely time of the year. Therapy during the holidays could be a new tradition, one where you make sure to take time for yourself. And I think we all know how important it is to take care of ourselves during the holidays. BetterHelp does the initial matching work for you so you can focus on your therapy goals. A short questionnaire helps identify your needs and preferences. And with over 30,000 therapists, BetterHelp is one of the world's largest online therapy platforms, having served over 5 million people globally. And it works with an average rating of 4.9 out of 5 for a live session based on over 1.7 million client reviews. This December, start a new tradition by taking care of you. Our listeners get 10% off at betterhelp.com/TCAT. That's betterhelp.com/TCATT. I think the problem in some of those types of cases is how do you measure that?
Oh man, it'd be so hard.
And so how do you quantify it? And if a jury does, find in your favor, what's the formula? In a lot of states, there's a formula for wrongful convictions. It's based on how many years you spent in prison. A lot of times it's like a very low amount. $20,000 a year or something like that. You're telling me, okay, I spent 20 years in prison. You're going to give me $400,000?
Right. Thanks, but I'll take it.
I'll take it. But 20 years in prison is in no way worth $400K. $400K is a lot of money. Don't get me wrong.
Yeah, but not for what you endured.
Not for giving up 20 years of your life.
I just, we've had conversations like this in the past where someone has looked heavily as the main person of interest or suspect, and then they're later found out they had nothing to do with it. But in the eyes of the public, unless they read the story that's buried further back in the paper or today, if they go out on the internet and search it, they're just going to remember what they remember last time they saw something. They're going to think, oh, that's that guy that did that thing. He's a bad person.
But even if every single person knew that he now wasn't involved, there's 13 years.
Yeah.
Or however many years of him from age 16 to, let's say, 29, almost 30 years old. How much did that alter his life? And you have to think it was pretty great.
Yeah, I think it definitely had a major impact.
In March 2024, Angel Vaz was indicted on 3 counts of lying to federal investigators. In May 2022, Angel told an FBI agent she went home to retrieve keys from a truck ring while Brittanee was being assaulted and killed. However, she was going somewhere else for a very different reason. She also said that Brittanee had her cell phone with her the entire time when it was proven that Angel had the phone and disposed of it somewhere between Georgetown and Charleston. She also insisted that Brittanee got into the car voluntarily to consume marijuana and cocaine, but this was a lie. On May 27th, Angel was granted a $10,000 bond. On July 24th, 2024, Angel agreed to plead guilty to 2 counts of making false statements to federal agents, each carrying a maximum penalty of 5 years imprisonment and a $250,000 fine.
Hefty.
Yeah. I mean, you told some really big lies, right? It's not good to lie, but there are little white lies that don't really hurt anyone, right? Sometimes we lie to our kids about certain things. Maybe we shouldn't do that, but we do.
Right.
There's no more cookies left. There are cookies left. I just don't want you to have any of the cookies.
What I meant to say, there's no more cookies left on that shelf in that pantry that you're looking at right now.
But some lies are huge.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're misdirecting federal investigators during, this search for a murderer, okay, that's a big deal. On August 15th, the planned date of sentencing, both sides agreed to a 10-day continuance after the penalty was upgraded to a maximum of 8 years for each count. Prosecutors said they were preparing for trial and considering all options, including potentially seeking a superseding indictment to include a federal kidnapping charge.
Sure, things got real scary.
Well, 8 years on each of those is no joke, but federal kidnapping is going to be a heck of a lot more.
Absolutely.
But on August 27th, Angel rejected the plea deal. Days later, on September 9th, Angel Vaz pleaded guilty to all 3 counts of making a false statement to federal agents concerning where she was the night Raymond Moody abducted, raped, and murdered Brittanee. She admitted for the first time that her story about her encounter with Brittanee on April 25th, 2009 was a lie. And I'm sure we'll probably get into it more, but just on the surface, it looks like she really took the incorrect route here.
Yeah, because 3 counts at potentially 8 years apiece.
Versus 2. She could have pled guilty. They wanted her to plead guilty to 2 counts. It ended up being 3 counts. Sentencing documents released in January 2025 shed more light on the roles Angel and Raymond Moody played in the murder and laid out Moody's history as a sexual predator in California. The following details were published by WBTW during a 2024 jail interview with the FBI. Moody explained in detail what happened the night Brittanee was kidnapped. He said, "We were hunting," referring to his and Angel's plan to abduct a girl, take her to a tent they had set up in Georgetown, and rape her. Moody and Angel drove up and down Ocean Boulevard. They passed Brittanee at least twice. Moody said, "I had my eye on her, and I thought, she's the one." They encountered her again. Moody was driving, but it was Angel who got out to talk to her and kind of soften her up a little bit. Maybe trust us. There's 2 things here that are really scary to me. The first is that you have people out hunting. That's just a scary thought in general. Now, we know people are out hunting all the time.
Sure.
The second really scary part of this is Angel being involved.
Yeah.
Because, my thought is most likely if Brittanee sees Moody, in the vehicle by himself, she probably no way gets in.
Yeah, she passes on.
Probably. But you have a woman get out. Hey, do you need a ride? We'll help you out. There is likely to be a little more trust involved there. We know women can do bad things, but not as often as men. And they're not viewed typically to be as violent or especially sexually motivated in their crimes as men.
Yeah, I think a woman's probably going to let her guard down a little bit more around another woman than around a man.
And rightfully so. A lot of men are scary. Angel led Brittanee back to the vehicle. They told her they were tourists and learned that she was also a tourist. They offered to drop her off at her hotel. But instead, Moody turned off the boulevard and pretended to be lost. He stopped driving after crossing Kings Highway, saying he needed to change drivers. He planned to get into the back seat to restrain Brittanee, but the door was locked. So he entered the passenger side front door. Before Angel put the vehicle in reverse, Moody drove into the back seat and restrained Brittanee. He told her not to panic because he kidnaps girls, demands a $5,000 ransom, and returns them. He handcuffed Brittanee either in the vehicle or at the pole yard boat landing, where their tent was located. They walked in the woods to the tent before Angel left to get the keys to their apartment. And this is such a scary situation to think that, Brittanee was in.
Yeah, absolutely.
She's thinking she's getting a ride from this couple. Her mom said it, right? She didn't like to walk. Now, could she have been tempted maybe by drugs? Maybe. I don't know. That wouldn't be out of the realm of possibility. But this thought that all of a sudden this man is diving back on you, restraining you, handcuffing you. That is so scary.
And as you're walking into the woods, how terrified must she have been?
Yeah, I cannot even imagine. Moody previously lied to FBI agents and said Angel was going to get drugs from the apartment. He also believed she went to get the keys from her son in Georgetown. The sentencing documents indicated their plan all along was to have sex together with Drexel. Angel even told Moody not to have sex with Brittanee until she got back. After Angel came back later that night, Moody left with Brittanee still in handcuffs. The plan was to get sex toys from their apartment. When he returned, he raped Brittanee with Angel present in the tent, but she did not take part in the rape. And I think, what some of his statements do, if true, right? You have to always say that. They definitely signify more involvement on the part of Angel.
Yes.
Than what I think she had previously admitted to.
It also confirms that Moody was a bigger piece of shit because he even lied about some other aspects of it, right? I mean, he kept on changing his story, and then he finally said, well, I did rape her. You hear this story, you're like, there's no consent.
Oh, no part of that. And I didn't feel that was true from the very beginning, but I think it's very obvious now that none of this was consensual other than maybe her getting in the van under false pretenses.
Yeah.
I don't think they grabbed her off the street and threw her in the van, but she thought maybe she was getting a ride or whatever. Everything after that, there was no consent whatsoever. And it was all, just one horrible, despicable action after another. Moody told investigators he couldn't have an orgasm because he was thinking about having to murder Brittanee after the rape. Angel didn't know he intended to kill her. He strangled Brittanee with a yellow nylon rope and choked her with the rope to make sure she was dead. He stabbed her in the heart with an ice pick before carrying her to the river and placing her face down in shallow water. He later took her body to the boat landing and put her under a tree before returning to the tent. They packed up their belongings in a vehicle.
I mean, what did she think was going to happen after they raped her?
You mean Angel?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good question. Can't imagine that she thought they were just going to let Brittanee go, right? Having seen their faces uncovered, her having been raped, the natural thought would be that she's going to go straight to police and she's going to know what we look like. She's going to know what our vehicle looks like. She might even know the license plate number. So I get it when he says, okay, Like maybe he didn't tell Angel he intended to kill her.
Yeah.
But back to your question, what did she think was going to happen? I mean, there's no doubt to me that Angel was a heck of a lot more involved in this than she initially let on.
For sure.
They drove north to Georgetown and drove across a bridge before stopping and leaving their Explorer. They drove back to the boat landing in Moody's truck, stopping along the way to get a shovel to bury the body. With Brittanee's body in the truck, they drove to their apartment at the Sunset Lodge and went to sleep. And that seems extremely brazen. You're just going to leave the body in your truck?
I mean, you just did this horrific thing. And like you said, you're okay just leaving her in the truck like that?
Yeah, and I don't have all the details. Maybe she was in the bed was covered, nobody could see, but it still does seem strange. At the very least, it's very callous, right? You're just going to go to sleep with a dead body in your truck. Angel told Moody she was scared. He was afraid she wouldn't keep their secret. And so she shouldn't know where he dumped the body. So he left and went looking for a place to bury Brittanee. The next day, they drove the truck to Polly's Island to retrieve his motorcycle. He tossed the rope in shrubs before they drove to Surfside Beach, where they were stopped for speeding. Moody revealed that he feared Angel was coming apart after her FBI interview in 2022. He told Angel to tell authorities that Brittanee was already gone when they got back to the Pole Yard boat landing and that she used his phone to coordinate a pickup with her friends. And I would think, Gibbs, for most people, it would be hard not to start to come apart after being interviewed by the FBI in connection with a horrible crime in which you were involved.
Yeah, it's going to be pretty intense.
On February 13th, 2025, Angel Vaz was sentenced to 18 years in federal prison. She received 3 consecutive 72-month sentences for each count of lying to federal investigators. She will have to serve 3 years of supervised release once she is out. And prosecutors hoped for 24 years. But the judge wasn't confident in some of the information in the pre-sentencing report because it came from Moody, a known liar. And that's always tough, right? Because, this guy has a reason to lie. I do think he told the truth about some things, but he peppered in a bunch of lies in with it, in large part to make himself look a little better, soften it a little. Maybe he was also trying to protect Angel in some ways.
Yeah, maybe. But 18 years is nothing to laugh about.
No, 18 years is a long time if she does that. Now it's consecutive, so that helps. But, I'm sure she could come out early on parole or something like that. When speaking in court, Don Conley called her the angel of death. In their news release, the U.S. Attorney's Office for the District of South Carolina wrote, according to evidence presented in court, Vaz concealed the truth of what happened to Brittanee and her involvement for more than 13 years. Vaz told investigators that Brittanee willingly joined her and Raymond Moody, that she left Moody and Brittanee at the Pole Yard boat landing near Georgetown, and that she didn't take Brittanee's cell phone with her, when in reality, she participated in Brittanee's abduction and was complicit in her rape and murder. On the night of Brittanee's disappearance in April 2009, Vaz assisted Moody in luring the 17-year-old into their vehicle, promising her a ride to her hotel. Vaz left Brittanee alone, with Moody at the site of her rape and murder, taking her cell phone, her only chance of survival, with her. The judge noted during the sentencing hearing that Vaz was a key participant in this tragedy, facilitating the kidnapping of a child. And I think it's really hard to argue with that statement.
I don't think you can.
She was very involved in all of this.
And she had opportunities to do the right thing.
Yeah, and she didn't take any of those.
No.
Judge Richard Gurgel also said, as quoted by WBTW, she, Angel, had every opportunity when that boyfriend was calling every 30 seconds to say help or call 911. He called Angel a key facilitator in this, and she takes the only means of escape. She lured this girl into a car, and from that point on, she's on a road to death.
Well, true statement, because that's what happened.
Well, you made the statement, right, that she didn't take any of the opportunities that presented themselves where, she could have stopped it or helped to stop it. And I think what the judge is pointing out is, one of those or several of those. And that's when Brittanee's boyfriend was calling all the time. She could have picked up the phone and said, hey, this is what's going on.
Yeah.
Something bad's happening.
Send help.
She didn't do any of that. Angel said in court, I'm not a monster or a horrible person. I'm simply a person who became a victim early in life. My past is full of mistakes. I'm sorry for not speaking up sooner.
I don't know how you say you're not a monster or a horrible person for what you were part of, because you were. You could say maybe today you don't feel like you are. That's your opinion. But you were definitely a horrible person for what you'd put that young girl through.
Yeah, it's really hard to argue that. And, I don't like the statement she made. I'm simply a person who became a victim early in life. Now, maybe she was victimized.
Yeah.
Many people are.
Sure.
But they don't go on to murder, rape, or help facilitate a murder, rape. So, to me, that statement just doesn't garner any sympathy for what you did. Now, you can get some sympathy for being a victim.
Sure you can.
When you're younger, but you're not going to get any later on when you participate in something like this.
No, it's not an excuse for what you've done.
Angel's defense attorney, Charles Cochran, claimed she was manipulated by Moody and had a history of domestic violence relationships. The defense noted Angel's lack of criminal history and multiple incidents of abuse from Moody. Cochran said he was always the mastermind here. We understand there's no emotional argument that will turn the tide in our direction. So I get what he's saying, right? She was abused by Moody. You can make a possible connection that maybe she felt as though she didn't have a choice in doing this, but that's not the way it seemed to me. I get that's the way the defense attorney is trying to paint it.
Sure. She had opportunities to get a hold of the authorities. Maybe she was too scared from the abuse that she has received in the past from Moody, but I still feel like she had an opportunity to end this.
On February 20th, Brittanee's mother met with the prosecutor, seeking additional kidnapping charges against Angel. Authorities have never alleged that Angel was present at the remote boat landing where Brittanee was raped and murdered, but they do blame her for not trying to stop it because she had Brittanee's cell phone, which received nearly 30 calls that night. Don Conley said at a news conference, "This is not over. I don't believe in closure. I believe in resolution." Don is out to kick some ass and take names.
Yeah, good.
Or kick names and take some ass. Whatever. No, I think it's the first one.
However it happens.
However it happens. But she obviously has gone through an unbelievable tragedy, but she's fighting like hell, right, Gibbs, for her daughter. She wants these people to spend the most amount of time incarcerated as they possibly can. She also wants to hurt them in any way that she can, right? I go back to the civil suit. If there's an avenue where she can stick it to him, she's going to take that. And I don't blame her one bit.
Sure, yeah. And I'm sure it's not enjoyable for her in one sense because she has to relive everything that happened to Brittanee.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this is not a walk in the park, right? To go through these different trials because she has to hear the facts over and over and over. U.S. Assistant Attorney Willard Holliday said attempts by the defense team to paint Angel as a victim were betrayed by her attitude in a jailhouse phone call with Moody in late 2024. Holliday said Angel was very much in charge of the conversation. She was defiant. She was belligerent. She was profane. She was not someone who seemed to be under Ray Moody's thumb. Very strong-willed. Now, you could also make the case that she knew there was no way he could get to her once they were both incarcerated. But, you do have to take what this guy's saying. He heard all that stuff. We didn't.
Yeah, you could say the defense was just trying to soften her up a little bit before sentencing came around, but he's seen the true nature of their relationship.
Yeah, it seems that way. On February 26, 2025, jurors awarded $700 million in damages to Brittanee's family in her suit against Raymond Moody. And that is a boatload of money.
That is.
Now, I don't know how much of any of that Brittanee's family will ever see, but like you said earlier, it may not be about the exact dollar amount. It may be more about, just really sticking it to him in as many ways as possible. We want this guy to suffer.
Yeah.
In every way he can.
He's ruined as much as they can ruin him.
In March 2025, a judge dismissed Deshaun Taylor's federal abuse of power lawsuit. And I don't really have all the facts of that. Again, there were people who came forward and said that Deshaun Taylor did this. There was the alligator pit. I don't think authorities pulled this out of thin air.
Yeah.
Now, these people that were telling them this seem to be lying, right? We now know that. But it could have been that they, the courts felt that they were acting on this information in doing what they did. But I still do feel very heavily for Deshaun Taylor regarding this part. There might have been other things he did in his life that, I don't feel sorry about. But
exactly. Yeah.
For being thought of as maybe one of the prime suspects in Brittanee's murder for many, many years, I do feel for him regarding that. As we wrap this one up, Gibbs, over a decade after she went missing, Brittanee's case was finally resolved. She was kidnapped by two predators seeking to abduct and rape a girl from Myrtle Beach's busy Ocean Boulevard. Raymond Moody had a known history of sexual violence, and many believed that his early release was a grave error on the part of the criminal justice system. And again, as I said earlier, I think it's really easy to think that when a person goes on to then commit other horrible crimes, right? It's kind of a no-brainer. Well, this guy shouldn't have been let out in the first place. But there are other people who, do their time, get out, become productive members of society, and never go on to do anything else.
True.
We're not talking about them.
No.
We're usually talking about the ones who get out and then go on to do horrible things. So, yeah, it's real easy to say, boy, they made a big mistake. And maybe they did. Maybe the signs were there and they just missed them. Or maybe he had done 20 years. They felt as though he was rehabilitated.
Right.
And it just turns out he was not.
I feel like it could be difficult managing that process.
It has to be because, I kind of go back to Shawshank, right? When Morgan Freeman's character, went in to the parole hearing, he started saying all the stuff he had said year after year, everything he thought the parole board wanted to hear.
Yeah.
Which is, I assume, what most people do, right? I'm so sorry. I'm a changed person, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden he's like, you know what? You're not letting me out anyway. So he started saying a little bit more like heartfelt stuff and they let him out anyway. But, I kind of think, to your point, it is very difficult to know because there's no way you can know who's going to reoffend and who's not. You can look at the signs, you can look at the reports and, psychology reports and all of that. But at the end of the day, there's no way to know.
That's true.
Who's going to walk the straight and narrow and who's going to go on to do despicable things. It's a sad case, right? Because a young woman, young girl, she wasn't even 18 years old, lost her life. But like I said, there are a couple of different things that are really scary. First of all, two people working in tandem to kidnap, rape, and murder is always a scary thing because that's two people coming together and agreeing on doing this horrific act. It's one thing for a loner to convince themselves, hey, this is what I should do. But now you got two people agreeing on it. Add in the fact that one of them is a woman who undoubtedly probably made it more likely that Brittanee would get in the vehicle.
Sure, Brittanee let her guard down more because of that.
I would think so. And I think most people believe that, and it's probably true. So that becomes very, very scary as well. And again, I think Angel had so much more involvement in this thing than what she copped to and really what she was convicted for.
Yeah.
You know, she was convicted of lying basically to federal investigators. I think she was way more involved and could have faced some much, much more serious charges and probably should have.
I agree.
But at the heart of it, Raymond Moody is, like you said, a POS, a monster. How much did he coerce Angel? That part we'll never know. Was there fear? Was there intimidation? But all in all, right, just a tragic story. It was interesting to, do a TCAT after we had done the unsolved version so many years ago.
Oh, yeah.
To see it come full circle and be solved is kind of amazing. It's what we hope for all the unsolveds. Now, we know they're not all going to be solved, but more and more of them are being solved, which is awesome.
Oh, yeah. I think it's amazing because, as we talked earlier, the technology behind everything that's helping solve these cases.
Yeah, it really is. And it just continues to evolve, right? What's the technology going to be like next year, 5 years from now, 10 years from now?
Yeah, wow.
But that's it for our two-parter on Brittanee Drexel. We got a couple of voicemails. You want to check those out?
Let's hear them.
Hey, Mike and Gibby. My name is Jessica Gregory. I am a very long-time listener, and I love the podcast. I just had to call in because I just finished the Marie Robards case. I'm a high school English teacher. I teach seniors, and we're studying Hamlet right now. And so when I listened to that court case, I came in the next day and told my students about the case with her getting caught and looking real guilty when it came to the Claudius part, talking about poisoning his brother. So I told my kids, I said, this is why Shakespeare's still relevant, because look at that. It just helps solve a court case. Anyways, I also had wrote in, I think a year or two ago now, about the Jimmy Robertson case in Rock Hill, South Carolina, and you guys covered that case, and I so appreciate it. Still my biggest flex. Anytime I do like 2 truths and a lie, I'll be like, I contacted a podcast and they did the one I asked them to do. So I really appreciate you guys. I think your podcast is amazing. I always refer you to other people if they're ever looking for a really good podcast. Super appreciate you. I am both Team Mike and Team Gibby. I think you guys are amazing. Keep doing what you're doing. I hope you guys have a fantastic holiday season and keep your own time ticking.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Anytime you can use the podcast to, kind of encourage your students, that's a good thing.
I think it's a really good thing.
I was going to say, who you do not want to play 2 truths and a lie with?
Hey,
Mike Gibson. You will not win that battle.
You're going to lose every time.
Hey, Mike. Hey, Gibby. This is Chuck Richardson. I'm a long-time listener, first-time caller from Maryland, about to actually be a Boston. Really love the show. I was listening to the Ashley Drexel case, and I couldn't stop laughing because, picturing Gibby playing soccer in wrestling tights. Just a suggestion for you. I was wondering if you could do the case on Charles Whitman. It's very interesting given how aware he was of his mental issues. So I think that would be, an interesting listen to. I'm definitely Team Mike and Team Gibby. And again, love the show. Keep your own time ticking. Bye.
All right. Thanks for the voicemail and for the suggestion. Yeah. The kind of the mental image of Gibby running up and down the soccer field with his, singlet or wrestling tights as we like to call them on is
Very relaxing.
not relaxing at all. No, it actually, provokes my anxiety to a great extent. Like, I have to be honest with you. It's nightmare inducing type stuff. But that is it, buddy, for another episode of True Crime All the Time. So for Mike
And Gibby.
stay safe and keep your own time ticking.